Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hallway of Gore. Welcome back to Saya no Uta. Let's continue. It looks like someone sprayed the walls with pick guards from ceiling to floor. What color should the walls of a hospital be? White, of course. And to the creatures of rotten flesh shambling around me, I'm sure this hallway looks just as white as it should. I know intellectually that the walls are white. I know that the flesh beasts are really human. I'm the one with a problem, and it's because I've accepted this that I'm able to lead something approaching a normal life. Even if my university's medical department is nowhere near as good as T universities, I guess they're talking about Tokyo University, I'm still a medical student specializing in neurology. I have a basic idea of what has happened to me, though it's hard to believe. This isn't a pathological condition, it's probably some form of agnosia unlike anything that has ever been studied before. The flesh beast called Tambo Ryoko said that other patients had developed neurological disorders after receiving the same treatment I did, so I guess I'm just another failure. It makes me want to laugh in that know-it-all doctor's face. That said, I don't blame the doctors who operated on me. After all, I do owe them my life. I know as well as anyone how low the chance of success was, and that I had no other hope of survival. I was unlucky, that's all there is to it. The point is that my condition isn't treatable. Just like someone adapting to a hearing aid or wheelchair, I have no choice but to adapt to this nauseating scenery. Of course, it's hard. It wasn't easy to resign myself to this fate. But now there is more than just despair. Even for me, there is a glimmer of hope. Keeping my eyes on my feet so as to see as little of this horrifying world as possible, I hurry home. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, in a house that's much too large for me alone. My parents, even unluckier than I was, died in the accident 3 months ago. I couldn't even go to the funeral for being in intensive care. I had to sell my father's business, but at least that left me with a house and enough money to live on for a while. Of course, I'm sad, but the accident took from me more than my parents. In fact, being on my own has probably saved me. If they were still alive, my parents would never have allowed me to live with some strange girl, after all. A strange girl? Oh? As I open the door, a bright voice greets me from the kitchen. The voice is beautiful and clear as a bell. Human. Its sweet sound washes the day's cacophony from my memory. Saya, huh? So he's living together with that Saya person. Even the patter of feet coming down the hallway is music to my ears. Nowhere else in the city can I hear such footsteps. Only in this house, with Saya, am I so privileged. And here she is. That is Saya, huh? And the most important question right now, of course, is why is she the only person in this world that looks normal? In her smile, in the inquisitive tilt of her head, is everything that I have lost. Since my accident, this girl is the only person I've met, perhaps the only person in the entire world who does not trigger my cognitive disorder. True, her skin seems too white, and the color of her eyes and hair is probably different in reality, but even so, her form is undeniably human. And it's not just her appearance and her voice, but also her. Her what? As I bend down to take off my shoes, Saya wraps her arms around my neck and pulls me gently into her tiny bosom. Her skin feels truly human, not cold or slimy, and from her hair wafts the sweet fragrance of a young girl. In all the world, only Saya is pleasing to my 5 senses. And what's more, she smiles at me, embraces me. She knows that she is my salvation and for some reason is happy that I need her. If I had not met Saya, if I had been all alone in this twisted, filth-ridden world, I would no doubt have succumbed to madness. It is no exaggeration to say that Saya alone is keeping me alive. After I see the humming Saya off to the kitchen, I step into the living room. Duh. I realized one day that if the natural colors of the world were sickening, all I had to do was paint over them with colors that seemed pleasant. Well, I guess green gore looks better than red gore. I went to the hardware store and bought every color of paint I could find. Then Saya and I tried different combinations until we found one that worked. After painting the bedroom from ceiling to floor, I was finally able to get my first good night's sleep since the accident. When we first started on the living room, Saya, unsure what to do with the curtains, just painted carefully around the windows. Without a moment's hesitation, I tore the curtains down and painted over the glass itself. There'll never be anything out there that I'd want to see, and as long as we keep the storm shutters closed, the neighbors probably won't think anything of it.
ご飯できたよ。
こっちで食べよう。
As she enters the living room with a tray of food, Saya sniffs the air.
ペンキの匂い。平気？
Now that she mentions it, I suppose the smell of paint thinner must be building up in this closed room. It doesn't really bother me though. There are far worse smells outside.
さやは嫌いかい？
平気。海のりが大丈夫ならいい。
Saya sets the food on the table. Unfortunately, neither its color nor its smell is at all appetizing. Not that food elsewhere is any different.
いただきます。
As has become routine, I steel myself and methodically transport the food into my mouth. The taste is as gut-wrenching as I expected, but it's not Saya's fault. I'm sure she made it exactly like the cooking show said. It's just that my taste buds can't accept it.
美味しくない？
She asks hesitantly.
まあね。
Lying won't make Saya happy. She knows about my condition.
気にしないで。明日はまた別のものを作ってあげるから。
ごめんな、いつも。せっかく作ってくれたのに。
Why is she living with him anyway?
いいのよ。こうやっていろいろ試していけば、いつか文のりでも美味しく食べられるメニューが見つかるかもしれないじゃない。
In my current state, eating is nothing more than an unwelcome duty. As much as I hate it, I need food to survive. If I stay alive, then perhaps one day, as Saya says, I'll be able to taste something delicious again. I met Saya, didn't I?
さやは食べないの？
私はもう済ましたから。
What's with that pause? In all the time we've been together, Saya has never once eaten with me. I don't know why she refuses to do so. It makes me a little sad. That's suspicious. Still, I'm not about to push the issue, not when she's putting up with all the problems I have.
そういえば、今日もう一度病院で君のお父さんのこと聞いてみた。
パパの？
Oh, so that one doctor, what was his name? I forgot. Is her father, huh? Dr. Ogai Masahiko, that was his name. Saya's father is her only relative. Saya has asked me to unravel the mystery of his disappearance.
やっぱり何も教えてくれない。何か隠している雰囲気なんだが。
そう。
I expected Saya to be a little more dejected.
心配じゃないのかい？
そういうわけじゃない。
Saya responds with an unreadable expression. She gives a little shake of her head, then smiles at me once again.
ありがとう、海のり。私のためにいろいろと。
君はそれ以上のことを僕のためにしてくれるんだ。
I thank her for the meal and set my chopsticks down next to the perfectly clean plate. As wretched as the taste was, thinking of the care that Saya put into it gave me the strength to finish every bite.
じゃあ、お風呂にする？
まあ、また背中流してくれるか？
How does the water look like? Blood? Ever since Saya moved in, it's been like having my own wife. So are they a couple? Saya, why are you so good to me? Well, I guess they are a couple because they have sex. I guess I have to cut here. See you in a second. Saya collapsed atop me, still smiling, and I wrap my arms around her. The feeling of her soft, sweat-soaked skin and the warmth emanating from her body reassure me that she's still here.
海のり、泣いてるの？
I realize that my cheeks are wet with tears.
どうしてなんだサヤ。なぜ僕にここまでしてくれる。
みのり。
わからないんだ。わからないのに僕だけがどんどん君に惹かれていく。君なしじゃ耐えられなくなっていく。
I wrap my arms tight around her, praying that our bodies will merge together and never again be apart.
教えてくれ。どうすれば君を失わずにいられる。僕は何をすればいい。どうやって君に報いればいい。
こうやって抱いていて。
Saya whispers into my chest.
みのりに抱いてもらうの大好き。ずっと一緒にこうしていたい。だから私はみのりから離れたりしない。
なぜ僕なんだ。
それはね、みのりが一人ぼっちだから。
She says softly, gazing up into my eyes.
それはさやも一人ぼっちだったから。
She's all alone. The sorrow in her voice resonates with my own. There's a deep loneliness in her eyes, a loneliness from which now springs boundless affection.
だからさやにもみのりしかいないの。この世でただ一人だけ私を抱きしめてくれる大好きなみのり。
Now I know. No matter what horrors this world unleashes upon me, all I'll ever need is Saya. Yo is determined to talk to him today. Nothing will happen as long as she hesitates. It will only prolong her suffering. The time has come to show courage once again. Yo's fourth period on Thursday is biology. This is her one chance to see Fuminori. As a required course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat well over 200, but since the room is usually only half full, it is rarely difficult for Yo to find the seat she wants. Yo prefers to sit near the center, where it is easiest to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason. Fuminori usually sits beside her, although given the ambiguous state of their relationship, she knows better than to take this for granted. Still, she tries to save a seat whenever possible. The classroom isn't crowded today, so Yo was able to set her back on the seat next to her without inconveniencing anyone. But when the professor arrives at the usual time to start class, there is still no sign of Fuminori. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yo scans the room furtively. Fuminori is there sitting alone in the far back corner. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have. And besides, no serious student would willingly sit so far away from the front. Feeling miserable, Yo slides her back over to herself. Fuminori is out the door the moment class ends. Yo barely manages to catch up to him before he disappears down the hallway.
Sakisaka-san!
Fuminori jerks at the sound of his name. You would think she just screamed at him.
何か。
He turns to her and asks reluctantly. Now that they are face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eyes and protruding cheekbones are a far cry from the features familiar to her. She wonders whether he is under a lot of stress or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He definitely looks more tense than he should, afraid even, though of what she can't imagine. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and he refuses to look Yo in the eye. It hurts to see Fuminori this way. What could have changed him so? Today she reminds herself, rekindling the flame of courage in her heart.
お話があるんです。ちょっといいですか?
The courtyard is empty and silent. No one is willing to sit and chat in the cold November air.
話って何?
Don't you remember? Yo almost blurts the question but manages to keep her composure.
sakisaka-san, 最近ちょっと様子が変です。
そうかもね。まあ、あんな目にあった後だから。
He smiles like it's nothing, but even that seems stiff and forced. He is even standing precisely one pace farther away from her than he used to.
本当にそれだけなんですか?
君にはそれだけじゃないように見えるのかい?
Yo manages to keep from flinching at the harshness of his tone.
何か我慢してるみたいに 見えます。
Rather than answer, Fuminori grins his toe into the dead grass at his feet. Fearing that her determination might flag, Yo lets the words come as they may.
どうしようもないものを無理して壊れそうになるほど頑張って我慢してるみたいに、今の咲坂さんはそう見えます。
そうかい。
Fuminori mutters through clenched teeth, no longer trying to deny it or change the topic. This is an even clearer signal of rejection than his prior evasiveness. But Yo's determination is strong. Today, at least, she won't back down.
友達ってこんな時のためにいると思うんです。
She implores, trying to convey the sincerity of her feelings for him.
ご家族のことは本当に残念だったと思います。でも咲坂さんは一人ぼっちじゃありません。友尾くんや大見ちゃんや、それに私がいます。
Yo can no longer stop the words pouring from her lips. She fears that if she does not unleash the feelings pent up inside of her, they will be lost forever.
一人で背負い込んだりしなくても、私たちで何とかできることだってあると思うんです。たとえ何もできないにしても、話してさえくれれば、あなたが少しでも楽になるかもしれない。私、咲坂さんの力になりたいんです。他のみんなも同じ気持ちだと。
やめてくれ。
Fuminori shouts, silencing Yo's entreaty. She promised herself that she wouldn't back down, but Fuminori's expression is terrible enough to shatter her resolve. The look in his eyes is not anger or any other warm-blooded emotion. It is hate, murderously cold hate.
そういえば君には一つ返事しなきゃいけない要件があったね。
He remembers. He remembers, yet still he has treated her so coldly. That is all the answer she needs. If his words step any deeper, she might very well die.
僕は君のことをとりわけ特別に意識したことなんてなかった。君に好意を持たれてもどう接すればいいのか迷ってた。僕が君のことどう思ってるのか、正直な気持ちが自分でもわからなかったから。
咲坂さん。
でもね、今ではもうはっきりと答えが出てる。あれから考える時間だけはたっぷりとあったからね。筑波さん、僕はあんたのことが大嫌いだ。顔も見たくない。
Don't cry, Yo tells herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes.
もう二度と会いたくないっていうのは無理だね。同じ学校に通ってるんだし。だからせめて今後は僕に声をかけないでくれないか。目障りなんだよ。
Yo whispers in shock and despair, which Fuminori twists his lips into a malevolent smile.
君さ、少しは頭を冷やした方が良かったんだよ。どうせ大宮浩二にけしかけられてその気になってただけなんだろ。自分一人でのぼせてる分には勝手だけどさ、他人を巻き込むなって言うんだ。
That's all Yo can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable to breaking down here. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back. Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt them, but still unwilling to leave them alone, Koji and Omi ended up watching the whole thing from the shadows. Throughout the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch Fuminori in the face. Knowing her temper, Koji kept firm hold of her arm until the end. If he hadn't, she might very well have done it. Fuminori leaves after Yo, his every step seeming to take an act of willpower. Koji sighs heavily into the once more empty courtyard, but the bitter taste in his mouth will not go away. Even Koji cannot forgive Fuminori's treatment of Yo. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion, not anger. Koji has known Fuminori since long before college. Fuminori was never this cruel before. There is no question now that the accident changed him.
ねえコージ、このまま放っておくつもり？
放っておきたくないにしたって俺たちに何ができる？
覗き見よりマシなことよ。
Omi shouts, her face red with fury.
私、咲坂くんに一言言ってやらなきゃ気が済まないわ。
それで筑波の気が晴れるってもんでもないだろうに。
だったら私のキーだけでも晴らすわよ。
Yo and Omi are best friends, just like Koji and Fuminori. In fact, it was the relationship between Koji and Omi that brought the other two together. Omi's anger is only natural.
私、咲坂くんと二人だけで話してみたいわ。コウジはついてこなくてもいいから。
本気かよ。
その代わり、ヨのことを見ていてあげて。あの子、多分心底傷ついてるから、泣き終わった後で誰かの優しさが必要になると思う。
なあ、それって俺とお前の役回りが逆じゃないのか？
私みたいな性格だとね、慰め役は無理。励ますつもりで余計に傷跡広げちゃうのがオチなのよ。
なるほど、納得いった。
あ、
じゃあまあそっちはほどほどにしとけよな。
Ending the conversation before Omi's mood gets any worse, Koji heads off to find Yo.